Let me talk about how one becomes a burden to another. Imagine that you're born and every day you see your mom sitting in a room and writing and reading. And once in a while, when you need something, she comes over and she takes care of you. As you get older, you have more needs. And you see her slowly, if you happen to pay attention, as most of you should, because none of you came just from under a rock. You all have parents. So this is something you need to know about parenthood. So as you get older, you realize that, well, your mom is writing less. Your mom is reading less. Your mom is mostly in the kitchen cooking and preparing things for you, getting you ready for school. And then you realize for the first time, she's telling you that she's going to go out there and look for a job, and she does. And then you see her day after day, your mom getting more and more exhausted. She comes home and she just kind of falls apart. And you see her reading the Bible, crying more, having more shame, more guilt. You know, she's lonely. She just looks depressed. And you go to your mom and you say, Mom, are you this way because of me? And intuitively, you know that she's spending about 20 hours of her day to just provide for you. But she is your mom. She looks at you and says, No, 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 no. I love you. You're a blessing to my life. It's the right thing to say, but the truth is, she's doing everything for you. She has put her life on pause for you. Are you a burden? Absolutely. Now add to this dilemma a couple of more things. Despite all the things that you do, that she does for you, you go home and she says, Can I see the report card? Let me see your grades. 5 Fs and 1 D. Once you hang out with people, now you sit in your room and you play video games. You come home and you smell like weed. Your friends are nasty. They look trashy. You can't have or hold a decent conversation. And there are moments your mom looks at you, looks at her life, looks at all the things she sacrificed, and she says, I made all the sacrifice to create trash. She won't say that out loud, but she knows it. Are you a burden? Absolutely. Can she walk away? No. She hopes and prays that before she dies, she can see you graduate from Laney, maybe from San Francisco, Stanford, get a master's maybe, get a nice job, buy a nice house, buy a nice car, find a nice companion, and maybe be decent enough to invite her for dinner and not throw her in some nursing home somewhere to visit her once every 5 or 10 years. All of us are a burden to each other. So going back to the woman that I liked very much, dare I say I loved, 6 months into the relationship, she comes to me and she says, Amir. I said, yes, my love. I'm not feeling well. Oh, should I get you some orange juice? No, it's far worse. What's wrong with you? I have MS, multiple sclerosis. All of us in this class are profoundly lucky because our neurons are protected by these things called myelin sheaths. They allow messages to go back and forth. But this particular disease destroys the myelin sheaths. You know, they're like condoms that cover your neurons, but this condom has all these broken parts. So messages just leak. You say, I want to go over there, and you go, but there is no message. So as you walk, you take a step, you just fall. Now, here's the thing about when you begin to fall in love. You have no choice but to care, at least initially. You have no choice but to have empathy. You have no choice but to become a sacrificial lamb. But your relationship, i.e. love, lives in time. What does time do to everything? It rusts it. I washed and detailed cars for 20 years. You know what the sun, the heat, the cold does to the glossy paint? It oxidizes it. And we buff it. High-speed buffer. We bring the original shine back to life. Just wait for 2 weeks. You know, it's like you and your companion don't get along, but you want to make it up to her, so you say, I bought us a ticket to Hawaii. That's a high-speed buffer. You go there, you have a great time, you come back, she looks at you and she says, I still don't like you. Now, you know how long it took me to walk away from the relationship? The moment she told me, the following day I said to myself, Amir, walk away. You're only 20. You have a long future ahead of you. Do you want to carry this burden of this young woman? By the time she's 25, she's not going to be able to walk, to talk, to bathe, to eat. You have to spend most of your time going to Kaiser. Do you want to live like that? Most likely she won't be able to have kids. And then fear comes about, selfishness comes about. But there is something about it that says, I gave her my word. I gave her a promise. How can I back out? See, if you're just attracted to someone and you talk to them, if you don't see them for the next 10 years, you don't care. But if you fall in love with them and you created hope and narratives, you're going to marry, you're going to have children, you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and all of a sudden you cut the umbilical cord, what's going to happen to her? She's going to get depressed. She's going to visit a therapist office. Whose fault is that? Well, it's mine. Do I want to carry that burden? No. What do? I prolong this dreadful conversation. I don't think I want to be with you. And you know what happens when you do that? You have to look her in the eye. You have to all of a sudden see facial expressions that you hate seeing. She's going to be sad. She's going to cry. What are you going to do? Well, you're not made of stone. And the moment she cries, you're going to say, listen, why don't we give this another shot? Take good care. Do you have any questions or comments before we talk some more about nonsense? Yes. I'm sorry.
If humans are social creatures,
How about this year?
oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
If humans are social creatures, we require social interaction, not find ourselves the same. Are we also a burden?
Are we a burden? If we remain a stranger to each other, they're not a burden. If you and I never have any interactions, you're not a burden. If you come to my office, on the other hand, and you say, Amir, I haven't done a single assignment. Here's a bag of money. Here's a box of coffee. What are you doing? You're bribing me, not just with stuff. You're creating emotions inside me. I went out of my way, and I'm giving you $1,000 worth of things. Just give me a C. That's a burden I have to carry. I don't know you from Adam, and yet you have the power to create emotions inside me that'll make me feel responsible for your future. Or imagine you come to class. I don't know you, and I start harassing you, abusing you in all sorts of different ways. Everyone in this class has power. In this particular space, I have power over you. In the parking lot, I don't have that power. When we go around Lakeshore and I run into you, and let's say you have a boyfriend and you have told your boyfriend nasty things about me in this class, what's going to happen? Your boyfriend is going to come close to me. He's going to hug me. He's going to kiss me because he found himself so attracted to me. And then he's going to make you feel jealous. Sometimes you go to a party and you just look at someone's face. You say, yuck. I remember 1986. I went to Subway in Roseville to get myself a nice, foot-long turkey sandwich. The young woman who was making my sandwich was from Ukraine. She was young, lots of acne on her face. And when I say lots, I mean it was like a volcano erupting. It's pretty bad. And it was a time where people didn't really wear gloves. And she was making my sandwich. I tried to avoid just looking her way. And then I go home. And I take out the sandwich and I'm trying to eat. And then the image of her face comes to mind. And the second bite, I just throw the sandwich out. Her face burdened me. And I'm not trying to be mean. I mean, this is just the organism that we are. Maybe I have a tone of voice. I had a student in this here. She was very, very attractive, but her voice was, I have a question. It just sounded so bad, And every time her hand went up and a question came my way with that particular tone, I wanted to run away. I said, how could God be so mean to give her such good looks, but such a horrifically ugly tone of voice? Imagine the woman sitting next to you. If she hadn't showered for like 5 weeks, maybe she hasn't, I don't know. Well, her odor would burden you. You'd probably want to go over there, but then you'd have to smell him. No, you don't. And then you say, oh my God, there is nowhere in this class I can go and sit to be free of this awful smell. So you know what you do? You leave. And then when I see you leaving, I pick up my roll book. I say, Chantal left early. Shanti. And then I'm going to give you a negative 25 points. Whose fault was this? Hers and hers and the rest of us. But you see, I have power. Now you're in the negative. We're all a burden to each other, man. Since that is the case, perhaps we should do what Jesus or Moses or Muhammad or Lao Tzu or Buddha or Malcolm X would say. Life sucks. Just try to unburden people as much as you possibly can. In fact, there is this great story in the Buddhist tradition there was a guy whose name was Patao. Not Pad Thai, the Thai food, the noodle. Patao. He has a dream. In the dream, the Buddha comes to him and says, you know, you have a great smile and you have a great laughter. I know you're rich, you're a very prosperous business person. Quit your job. Be a monk. And don't be a monk in a cave or a desert. Be a monk in the city. Knock on people's doors. And whenever you see sorrow or sadness in someone's eyes, just laugh. And your laughter is so infectious that the other person will start laughing. And you will unburden them for maybe 5 seconds, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 5 days, who knows? Since all of us have no choice but to be stuck in this room, Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 10:15, shower. Smell good. Don't smoke before coming to class. Just in case you're angry, leave it outside. Treat people in this class nicely. Even if I bore you, well, I'll try not to, but just in case I do, pretend as if you're having a good time. And you know, the semester is slowly coming to an end. If you haven't done work, don't burden me with giving you an F. It really hurts my feelings. Because you guys are young. You have another 60 years to live. You don't want to work at Home Depot for the rest of your life. Get this stuff done. If you live in society, you're going to be pushed around. Not only that, yesterday, I had to go to my daughter's school, but I went home, I felt relatively exhausted, so I took a nap. And I woke up, and I was lightheaded. I had no idea where I was. I woke up late, didn't wash my face, didn't change my clothes. I just went to my daughter's school with my jammies, which is like i.e. naked. And I couldn't shake off the mood. It was down, it was negative, it was depressing. And so I wrote an email to the teacher this morning, apologizing. And the point is, sometimes people don't really have to wrong you. You just wake up in a bad mood and you don't know why. We have no choice but to be oppressed in all sorts of different ways. You get older, you're oppressed by your own physical body. Your kidneys don't work. Your eyes don't work, your ears don't work, you can't poop, can't drink, and if you do, you gotta use the bathroom like 50 times. Any other questions or comments before we... Did you get your answer? Please.
Why always, no matter what we do, why we- how come even if we are tortured, actually or whatever?
It is such an amazing question. It really, really is. Sometimes I think about someone like Robin Williams, or Malcolm X, or Mahatma Gandhi, or even Jesus Christ. Forget Mahatma Gandhi because he was an old man. Robin Williams. I mean, you're a guy, you're also old. Robin Williams is old. He was on the stage most of his life. And I don't know if you've ever been on the stage. And by being on the stage, I mean, when you walk into a room, any environment where you have more than 2 pairs of ears listening to you, and not just for 5 seconds. You know, when I was younger, I would be in the classroom from 9 in the morning all the way till 10 at night. I taught 5 classes every single day. And when I would walk to my office from 12 to about 1 to take a break, I had about 20 people following me to the office. I had 0 break from 9 till about 10 at night. That's a stage. And then there comes a point where you realize your body is failing you, your memory is failing you. You have this disease that's going to rob you of your mind before it robs you of yourself and your life. And then you say to yourself, if I'm slowly going to disappear, why not just take my own life? Do I really want to see my brain turn into mush? Do I really want to be hooked up to machines? And to his question, do I really want to be so sick and have my wife and my kids just take care of me 24/7? Do I want to be that kind of a burden to people? And he committed suicide in a very heroic way. Suicide counters your organism. You don't want to end your life. Even if you have dreams where you're falling from a building, you will never see yourself crash and die. Our organism is so wired so that it can survive forever and ever and ever. So much so that we create religions that say you have a soul inside you. Even if your body goes away, your soul will remain. We don't enjoy death as a mental construct. It doesn't work for us. We also have hope. We also have dreams that force us to continue fighting against all the awful things that could end our life. I mean, you have people hooked up to machines, man. I worked for Child Life Services and hospice for about 10 years. I mean, these are kids who haven't really been given a chance to live life. Cancer at the age of 2. You know, you're 40, you got cancer. And it's not like you're just laying in bed and you feel nothing. You're in pain, agonizing pain. And you just refuse to die. So we are governed by hope. Your organism desires to live forever. We have this thing called cryonics. I don't know how to pronounce it well. It's been a long time. But it's these frozen machines, these ice machines. And they're very, very expensive. If you happen to have a few $1 billion in your pocket, you can actually go to these places. They can freeze you at the age of 25. And in about 10,000 years from now, you can be brought back to life. And hopefully by then, we will have the proper technology where you can live forever. There is, in fact, a guy right now who is a billionaire, who is 45 years of age. And he's doing these stuff to his body. He has a lung of an 18-year-old, the face of a 15-year-old. Things are being done to him where his body, instead of getting older, is getting younger. We don't like death. We don't like to be forgotten. It's just a curse and a blessing. And yeah.
Your take on, I know that rock and roll aliens have body image. Your take on like Venus that
Instead of talking about that, I'll give you a scenario because I think it takes a level of maturity that most of us don't really have. And it's complicated. So let me just start with this particular story and then we'll move on. I had a colleague, she taught, I think, physics. One day she comes, knocks on my office, and we sit, and she says, I've been with this man for about 16 years. We haven't been intimate for the past 6 years. I say, you've been with this guy for like 16 years and you guys haven't had sex for like 6 years? Why? I just feel like he's my brother. And he tells me I feel like his sister. And they tried sex therapy, they tried psychotherapy, they tried pornography, they did all sorts of crazy things to make this work, but they just didn't. So eventually they broke up. He went to India and became a monk, and I don't know what she did. You know, it's really, really hard, first of all, to be attached, to be with someone and then be attached, add to it to for be in love with them. And then come to this understanding where your relationship is no longer one of romance. It's more like a sibling. And then you both decide very maturely that this is just not going to work, despite the attachment, despite the love, that each of you should go their own separate ways. Okay. When you talk about assisted suicide, there are two people. Well, there are really more than two people. Imagine you're the physician and I'm the patient. I have cancer and I am in stage 25. You are Dr. Kevorkian. And by the time I get to this particular stage, every single day is pain. I have my wife to consider. I have my kids to consider. I have my religion to consider. I have my culture to consider. I have the name of my tribe to consider in the greater Persian community. But there is more. How did I live my life? Is my book complete? Am I content? Am I satisfied? Or do I have some unfinished business? Am I going to die peacefully or in agony? Have I reached a place of acceptance? Because if I haven't, I'm not going to go to Kevorkian and say, hey, the other thing is, how intense is my pain? Sigmund Freud had cancer because he was smoking all the time. But despite having cancer, and it was profoundly painful, he didn't allow anyone to give him too much coke. Why? Because he wanted his work to continue. He wanted to be sober enough to keep writing, to keep thinking, to keep seeing patients. Now, when my pain becomes so intense that I wish to die, is my mind sound? Am I thinking about things the right way? You know, I'm an immigrant. I also get airsick. So when I go back home, when I go to Europe sometimes, the flight from here to New York is about 5 hours. From New York to Europe is about another 5 hours, 6 hours. So it's 10 hours of flight. And when I get airsick, 10 minutes into the flight, I begin to throw up. At first, food comes up. Then after the second or third or fifth throw up, I got another 50 throw up coming my way. I have nothing but air. And you know what I do, and I kid you not, I want the plane to explode. I want to die. The pain is so much, I can visualize my lungs, my organs just coming out of my mouth. But here's the thing you need to understand. When you're in the cradle of pain, you don't think about the passage of time. This too shall pass. You get sick, you get healthy. You're mad, you become calm. You say stupid things, time will allow you to apologize. In pain, time freezes. In tame, reflection stops. In pain, that's all you have, pain. Now, who's going to determine if this is the right time for you to end your life? You? If someone was to say to me, I'm going to have the plane explode, I say, please do so. I don't care. I'm dying in the bathroom. What I don't realize is, in about 2 hours' time, the plane will land. I will stop throwing up, as I have for the past 50 years. Unless I come to a place where I say, I have lived long enough. If you've seen the movie Braveheart, for example, he's a young man, he's in love, he's a freedom fighter, and all he needs to do is just to apologize to the king. Maybe he'll be freed, maybe he'll be executed really, really quickly without much pain. But no, that's not what he does. He says, you know what, I'd rather die heroically. Malcolm X is a young guy, he's not even 40. He knows he's going to get shot. People tell him all the time. No, I have lived my life to the fullest. It depends how full of a life you've had. Pain is an awful thing. It consumes you. It doesn't allow you to think soberly, clearly. But the trick is the following. If you want to die well, I have a wife. I know how human beings function. She'll be sad when I die. There comes a point where she says, I'm lonely. Maybe she'll distract herself for a while with reading, with writing, with teaching. Eventually, she wants to come home. She wants to be with someone. My kids, I'll give them what I can. Eventually, my kids are like you. They gotta go out there and find their way. The best I can do is just give them some foundation and make sure that foundation isn't cracked. I can't help them in whether or not they should hang out with this guy or that guy, marry this person or that person, whether they should do a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD, how much of a loser they're going to be. I have no control over those things. Get your life in order. Look at things the right way. And if you're able to look at things the right way, it means that you're able to reflect. And that'll help you live relatively well. So when your end comes, for the most part, most of your chapters have been complete. I have about 4 unfinished books. They're great books. But whenever fear of death comes to me, I say, go to the library at UC Berkeley, 5-story building, all these books, they're all gathering dust. Who's going to become wise by reading a book? No one. So what if my books remain incomplete? Nothing. It's only my ambition that's in the way. Get rid of that. You finish the book, don't finish the book, matters very little. Assalamu alaikum. It's good to see all of you. Next time I see you, shower, smell good, dress well. You owe it to other people to inspire them by smelling good, looking good. Okay? Don't depress people by looking bad and smelling bad. Have a nice weekend, people. Thank you.